What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. BobbyFi with my man Eric Sheets-Haber. We've got a lot of sports coming up for you. We got an old friend coming on later. We're going to be doing a golf show later, and we had a nice little run last night. Sheets better than I did. Sheets had a real shot. I also had a really, a good friend, a guy who's followed me for years, who thanked me last night, but he won the big one with $60 he won 100K on FanDuel. So that was nice.
I saw that.
And yes, and a profitable night for me on DK. Sheets did well. You want to talk real quick about your lineup, Sheets, and then we can jump into the night?
Yeah. So again, I'd like to I get one more shout out. So I'd like to take credit for it, but I actually did do pretty well in the quote unquote the big one with lottery ticket when I only played like 20 lineups in it, and one of them I got like 26th place or something with some real the big thing was a really low owned whatchamacallit, Josh Hart, who went freaking ballistic. And I'll pull the line up here right now. It's a little tilting when you look at it, because look at the one guy, the guy I was most sure about was the big snowflake. so I had the DeRozan snowflake, and the rest of everything else just went bananas. And I gotta give a little shout out, because the guy who won, DK, was remember the Bobby's guy was FanDuel. The guy who won here is MH, who's Matt Hunter, who's actually a designer and algorithm programmer of SaberSim, who I tout like nonstop. And what was interesting about it was that, and he's definitely one of the guys I root for, by the way, as opposed to others who maybe we won't. This guy we totally root for. What was interesting about it is
they're all like that. I feel like I like them all. Sorry.
Well, what was interesting about it was that when we were doing the live stream, I was talking about different guys that I had. I like Grant, I like a lot of guys, and then I this guy Josh Hart just kept on kind of showing up in my builds like 15%, and I was pretty transparent about it. That I was using. What I was doing is I was putting my projections into SaberSim, and have SaberSim kind of crunch some, MME lineups. And what SaberSim does, which is really, really cool, is it doesn't just like program the median in, right? So whatever I program it doesn't necessarily mean that's what it's going to run. What it does is run simulations that has not just like, let's say I put in a median of 25. It's going to have some with 22, some with 28, some with 31, some with 19. And since you're looking for upside, it'll plug in lineups which sometimes have a 31 on it. And then if you put your ownerships in, you give the guy low ownership, it's going to give you a little more credit for it. So when I had 15% Josh Hart, I'm like, all right, I'll roll with it. And it was not surprising to me that the winning lineup that was owned by the guy named that runs SaberSim also had Josh Hart, right? So right. It definitely makes a lot of sense. So
it's always interesting when that stuff happens, because it feels good. It doesn't feel like a random. You know what I mean? And there was merit to the play. We played Josh Hart in worse spots at higher prices this season than that. And congrats for getting him, and congratulations to Protein P out there. Shout out. And let's get on to tonight. Let's make it be us and one of our winners tonight. I mean, we had some good things last night. Like I had a lot of lineups that I felt like were live, just and they cashed. They just didn't quite get on me all the way there. In the 77 at one point, I think I had one that was in the top like 6 or 7 at one point, and with a few minutes left to go or something, but it wasn't going to get there. Just solid night. Let's get on to winning some real money tonight.
Well, let me ask you a question. So do we have? Is there any news that we know of tonight, or?
Well, I mean, you know what? We'll just have to figure that out as we go, and then do our best for the people as we do our show. You're around at 6, I assume.
Tonight I am around at 6.
Good.
And again, it's really, and again, it's a tough sport, man. I mean, you really got to be around. And one of the lineups I did well with was only because I was around at 9 o'clock to rerun stuff, and it is a tough sport. So hopefully we can make it as easy. I mean, we're not going to make it easy. We're going to make it easier, maybe. Hopefully, that's the best. I think that's the best we're going to be able to do.
The way I'm viewing these shows is it is a little bit of a first look. Yeah, but it also, like on these big slates, what it does is it gives you a direction to go in, because even once all this news comes in, Sheets, how many times have we seen it? We're either a forgotten guy from the earlier part, or maybe a guy we hung on to who other people may have forgotten about as the slate seemed like, oh, we have to play this guy now. But maybe we hung on to them because we do this process. And I think that there's a lot of merit in it. So I'm a big fan of this. I think it's good for the people. They certainly, by the way, they get furious when we don't make a video, so we better keep making them. So.
And the other thing I should mention again, and this is something you always got to keep in mind when you're watching this, is what type of contest are you handicapping for? You know, like what are you looking to accomplish? And you know, it's cool. I mean, I think that by now we could safely say that if you're coming to look at our stuff, it's because you want like kind of like GPP stuff. You know what I mean? And this was something that I was, you know, not to talk too much about my history, but when I ran Poker X Factor back in the day, you know, we only did tournaments, right? And part of it was that I sucked at cash games, right? But others was because that was like my specialty. So people knew when they came there that they weren't going to get a lot of cash game stuff. If anything, we would get, you know, it would be tournaments. And I think that slowly but surely we've kind of developed just, you know, the following that like people know that when they come to us, you're not going to get, you know, the cash plays. You're going to get, you know, the types of plays that hopefully win or put you in a position to win tournaments. So hopefully we're at least being true to that.
Yeah, I think we're doing the best we can. So let's start game by game. And this is going to be interesting right off the bat here. A lot of things to take into sort of account here in this game, and as I feel like Sheets, knowing me, you probably want me to or expect me to have a pretty strong take on this game, I guess, based on.
So well, I'll tell you. So here's an interesting. So this is where I'm a little confused. Maybe you can share this with me. So I was watching a little other content today, and guys, I don't want guys I respect. I don't like necessarily listen to them, but guys that I just kind of, you know, when they're talking, I don't like just turn off the TV, so to speak.
Sure.
And they were looking at this game, and one guy who's a, you know, kind of a projection guy. He was, you know, also he was saying, okay, for whatever reason, he says, you know, Westbrook at 25% owned is just like a terrible tournament play. You know, that for cash, he's probably a good play, but for tournaments, he's probably not a good play at 25% ownership. And the funny thing is, when I first looked at it, I mean, again, maybe I'm not, I would say maybe I'm dumb because that's a little bit too condescending also. But when I first looked at this, I'm like, okay, Westbrook should probably be 50% owned. And yeah, if he's 60, 70% owned, maybe I won't play him. But if he's under 50%, I mean, I just kind of want to take this, you know, and roll with it, and get different elsewhere. So that was my first look, was that, I mean, how do you not play Westbrook at that price? And I'm talking about DraftKings, okay? And yet on the other hand, you have Toronto, and you know, a very wise man in these videos once told me that one of these guys from Toronto always seems to blast, and that was in neutral matchups. That this smart person once told me that, and now that we're in the Coors Field of matchups, I can't imagine not playing one of these guys, whoever it might be. So for me, whoever it might be today is probably Lowry, but you know, I you know, you always like to say that you can count on Van Vliet shooting it more. So I guess I will leave this to you. My initial instinct is maybe I'll just be kind of the moto guy, but something like Lowry and Westbrook certainly makes sense to me.
Yeah, I think that the Lowry ownership will be lessened too because of people worrying about his back after coming out after 8 minutes the other night, which, by the way, thank you, that kind of screwed my whole night. But you know what? Look, guys are going to play through injuries. Kyle Lowry's as tough as they come.
Yeah, he is.
So starting with Toronto, Kyle Lowry would be the first place I would go to.
Okay.
I think we're going to get Anunoby back. I don't think that I think Siakam and Van Vliet are firmly in play. When we get to other players, you'll see why they're kind of hard to play. We're in the same price range. Starting with Westbrook versus Van Vliet feels hard to play Van Vliet, but at the same time, this guy's put up, you know, 53 or more in 3 out of the last 4 and 4 out of the last 6, and put over 40 in all but 2 of the last 10. And he's even at 8,500, at 8,600. This is also a ceiling. You know, look, Washington plays the most possessions per game of any team in the NBA, and Toronto is more middle of the road, but they still play pretty fast. They just make more shots. So Washington basically plays. It's hard to measuring pace of play is always a little bit of a funny thing, because you end up getting more possessions, but at the same time, some of it's because you're missing more shots. doesn't always work out to just the fastest teams have the most possessions. Either way, this should be a really fast-paced game. The thing that's interesting, though, that I want to note is, especially without Westbrook, Washington has been playing slower a little bit and than they have for the rest of the year. And they've been having a really hard time scoring. Part of it, though, has been blowouts. So I'm willing to throw away the blowouts against, the two big blowouts they had last week. And if I throw it away and assume this game stays close, I just don't see how we don't play these guys. And I don't really like the early ownership projections may be way off, but I don't even have Westbrook as that heavily owned. I don't have Beal as hardly owned at all. And I don't have anybody but Lowry owned at all on Toronto. So I would rake it Lowry, Van Fleet. I do like Siakam too, though. I'm going to be mixing in all these guys. So Lowry.
So what's interesting is we have to look at other games, I guess, because when I'm looking at this, and this is what I do too. My first ownership runs when I look at it, I'm like, okay, first place I look, okay, so Beal looks to be like 6%. I'm like, obviously that can't be the case. And then I look at two other places. Another place has him at 5. Another place has him at 3.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm like, okay, there better be somebody a lot better because otherwise I'm just going to be forced to do this.
So in this horrible struggling season that Russell Westbrook has had, where there's been injuries, where there's been the last 2 games he's played, he couldn't crack the 30-minute mark, which never happens when he plays because they were that big of blowouts. And yet he's still averaging 48 fantasy points a game and costs 8,400. Has the number 1 matchup for distributing point guards in the NBA. I don't understand how you don't play him. Like, I don't care. Look, throw it away. If there's a blowout, it's a blowout. There's no reason at home we should expect there to be a blowout against a Toronto team that really has let everyone stay in games. So Westbrook number 1, Beal number 2 on Washington. I don't even mind if you want to mix in some Bertans or Hachimura. I think Bertans' minutes are more secure. And I know he hasn't shot the ball well. That's fine. He's going to make more than half of his threes one of these days and put up 35 fantasy points. I'll take it. I don't know if tonight's going to be the night where you end up needing it, but I do like those. I like this game, so I don't mind adding him as a side piece. And then I would play one of Lowry or Van Fleet with Siakam. And I honestly don't mind Lowry and Van Fleet together with Beal and Westbrook. It's one of my favorite things is going to be the Beal Lowry combo. The Westbrook Lowry combo. Westbrook currently is one of my highest owned players. Oh no, sorry, he's my highest owned player by far on the slate. And Beal is one of my highest owned players on the slate. So I don't mind playing them together here. I want to attack this. I also think that there's high variance with this Washington team. Like if they don't win games soon, I think you're going to start seeing trade potential. I think you're going to see guys getting rested even more. I don't know what they're going to do exactly, but it feels like it's getting to almost be a tanking situation with how poorly they played. And I'll take the L on that one. I thought they would be more competitive. They have had some unlucky things. And Westbrook is injured, by the way. All of these things I'm telling you right now. And the Lowry matchup is tough and all that stuff in general, although they, again, distributing point guards this year against Toronto. But I just think you can't not play these guys here. Maybe we'll have some different opinions when we go a little further on.
So I want you to address a guy for me who's actually the second highest point per dollar play on Toronto, who I don't think I'm going to play with Anunoby back, is Boucher.
Anunoby back has got me a little bit off of it, to be honest.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I figured I would just bring him up.
He also played really well against Memphis the other night and still barely beat this price tag. Only thanks to a late rebound did he get there.
So I've got a narrative for you.
Okay.
Again, they don't care about this because Washington's probably desperate to win, but it is Alex Len having been cut by Toronto. Not bad.
Now, do we think that, let's see, they've been mixing around their starting lineups. He hasn't been starting. You don't really need to play big against Toronto.
No, I know. I'll just report it. You can interpret that one.
Yeah, well, you know what? Maybe we revisit that one when we talk about some value stuff later. It's not like he's super like free or anything.
No, just throwing it out there.
I mean, that's interesting. Sometimes if I sound frustrated, it's not because I'm frustrated with your ideas or the picks. I'm frustrated because I don't know how I feel about it. I guess the answer.
I got you.
I don't feel great about it.
I got two others for you later, so it's fine.
All right, perfect.
Okay. So this next game is going to be the ultimate. You're going to have to. This is sucker bet city. So first of all, this is for me. It seems to be like the 37th straight game where Trey's gone against Luka. No, it just seems that way. Maybe it's not the case, but
just the big slates.
I suppose so. This is hopefully these projections change. I really don't want to play him. But my top play from Atlanta is a combination of a guy who I haven't played probably in this year, and a guy I probably played maybe twice ever. And that's Danilo Gallinari at 4,500. So that's my, God forbid, my favorite value play on Atlanta. I don't know if I'm going to get to Trey. Certainly looks okay, but I don't know if I'm going to get there. As far as Dallas goes, Luka, sure. Why not? So he's always a stud you have to put in your player pool. Is he the big priority today? I don't know. He's certainly one of them. As far as the other guys, I never get any of these guys right between DFS, Richardson.
Well, there's a lot more.
Porzingis is coming off the big game, man. Porzingis coming off a huge game, so
yeah,
I don't know.
He was great. I told you he still got it in him.
Sure does.
Man.
So I guess Luka.
Yeah. So Luka is way too cheap. I'm just gonna keep saying this as on repeat all year. This is the problem with playing. Why you don't have to do the Westbrook thing necessarily, or you know what I mean? Or not, maybe not Westbrook, but all the guards I just mentioned. Luka's really cheap. I expect him to put up 60 plus fantasy points here. These teams went from playing really slow to and actually pretty good defense, especially Dallas. And I always said I didn't buy the Dallas defense one bit. I just thought they were playing slow because Luka was tired and out of shape. They're not playing slow anymore. I mean, it's pretty wild to think that this game has almost the same total as the Washington-Toronto game. By the way, I like the over in the Washington-Toronto game. Okay. Dallas has played with the fourth fastest pace over the last 5 games. I think that this is a spot where but I mean, again, like with the pricing and everything the way it is on Atlanta, I kind of agree with you that Gallinari would make the most sense, but do I really want to play Gallinari at 4,500? I probably by the time.
Just so everybody full disclosure, he was on a 25-minute limit for Saturday. Okay.
There's no reason to think he'll ever get more than 25 minutes in a game this season.
I don't know about that.
Who does he play over? John Collins, Cam Reddish, Kevin Herter, Trey.
Let me talk myself through this, right?
Okay.
So he put if why would they say that he's on a 25-minute restriction? So the way I look at it is if they say he's on a 25-minute restriction, it means that if it not for the restriction, he could play more. So my answer to that question of why would he ever play more than 25 minutes is the opposite. Like, why would they announce that he's on a 25-minute restriction if he's never going to play more than 25 minutes anyway? So that's my weird logic of why I think they expect or they want him to play more than 25 minutes. The other thing I will say is that in those 25 minutes, he was super. You know what I mean? Like I would say perfect, but he was 3 for 5 from 3, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. I think, almost in a good way, he had 4 personal fouls, so he was active, only 2 turnovers. So I don't know, man. It's maybe I don't need it. Maybe it's a reach, all that other good stuff. But
you're going to see small forward and power forward, small forward especially, that you're going to want to save money there. And so I do see that as being a valuable thing. And I kind of hear what you're saying, but I have a little bit of a different take. I really think that, like, if you looked at it before the season started, let's say when Gallinari went there, we had his minutes projected, but I was looking at season projections of who was going to play what. And I know that's different because we had DeAndre Hunter, and that's a big guy missing. He eats up a ton of minutes. But Gallinari was only projected to be like a 20-minute per game guy. Now they also had Rondo. There are enough bodies out here where maybe he does get a bump sheets. You know what? What happens if we move his minutes up to 26, let's say, instead of 24, which is probably right around where he's at most of the industry? Yeah, he does become even more appealing. So I can get behind a little bit of Gallinari in a pretty good matchup. And by the way, I'm a fan of Gallinari. I really like him as a real life player, and he's also a pretty consistent fantasy producer at around 30 fantasy points when he plays. Now that was a different situation, obviously, but maybe he does get back to similar to that without Herter, without Rondo. Maybe you're also just better off just playing. Not the issue. Maybe you're better off just playing Cam Reddish. we know that he's going to play more minutes. We know the ceiling for minutes is probably higher. The production comes and goes. He's all over the map. But I don't think it's that. I think it's pretty close between the two of those guys.
Hey, can I give you another flex? This is a pretty cool flex, actually. I have Danilo Gallinari's text.
How do you have his message? His number?
So this my AAU team. One of the guys' fathers who's on my AAU team. His name is Io Hod. He used to. This guy himself used to play overseas, and he at Cardozo and Yeshiva in New York, and he was friendly with all the NBA players. He's like best friends with Allen Houston. Used to play on the Knicks. He's also really good friends with Danilo Gallinari. And so whenever Danilo came to play New York, he would go watch. He would go hang out with him, whatever. And he texted him and me like joint, saying, "Hey, Danilo, this is my coach. This is my son's coach, Eric. Blah 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 blah." So it's not that I actually have a relationship with him, but I do have his text in my phone.
That's cool. That is pretty cool. By the way, I do like Capella tonight. I just want to say, Ashita, this is pretty amazing. You just sort of seem to have this connections to all these weird people all over the place.
I'm just saying, very bizarre flexes.
All right. So, yeah, I just want to throw out that I think Capella's fine. I just don't think that I'm going to end up getting there on this slate. It does seem like a good matchup for his price and everything. It's just there's a lot of plays I want to spend up on. And we'll get into the next game. A center I like better. So why it's hard to play him, or a center and a forward who I like better at the same price.
Now in Indiana, Brooklyn, I have already told you, by the way, that my flex, I do have Kyrie Irving's father's phone in my text.
Oh my God, this guy's just all over the place. Socialite of the NBA.
No, only because his friend, the guy I know who's the assistant at BC was his roommate at BU back when he and I ran around. Anyway, all right, Indiana, Brooklyn.
Yep.
Speaking of Coors Field, man,
what's going on tonight?
The hell?
It's gonna be nuts.
Brooklyn can't stop anybody. I mean, like, and they can't beat anybody. It's so I guess we'll start with the easy ones, right? So, and they're all going to be, I presume they have to be highly owned. If everybody's used to have the Minnesota bump, now you get the Brooklyn bump. It's crazy. So I guess Brogdon, I guess Sabonis, I guess Turner, I guess they're all just freaking smashes, I suppose. And then on the Brooklyn side, you know what I want to play? I don't want to play Harden.
Okay.
And I don't want to play Harden.
What if Kyrie's out?
Well, then I have to play Harden.
Yeah. Okay.
If Kyrie's out, then you have to play Bruce Brown too. We're back to that nonsense. All right. So, is there a chance?
By the way, he played. It would have been nice. I actually had Bruce Brown in lineups last night. I took him out, and that was not a.
Wait, so wait, you're telling me that Kyrie is gonna come off on in a press conference and bitch last night, and then sit the next game?
No, I think he'll play. Is my guess.
I don't know why. Why was he going to? I don't forget.
He's banged up. That finger looked bad in that game.
Yeah, you know what? His fingers banged up from pointing fingers. That's what his fingers banged up from. I just don't like that. Not that I don't like it, but if you look at Harden's game log, I mean, he had 5 blocks, like 2 steals. I don't know. I think people might game log watch a little bit. Now, I'm not saying that he can't get 50. He's probably going to get 50. But I don't know. Maybe that's stupid. Maybe I'm supposed to play him. I didn't want to play him, but maybe I was supposed to. I mean, I like both of those guys.
Harden was on his way to, what did he end up with last night? It would have been like 75 probably.
They pulled him out with like 3 minutes to go. Or
yeah, and by the way, those are big 3 minutes. That's all Harden usage. So maybe we'd only end up with 70. I mean, he's there. Like if Kyrie plays, I would rank him below Luka. If Kyrie's out, he's above Luka, obviously.
I guess so, huh?
But they're close. Like, and Indy hasn't exactly been like this old school Indy team that's just been awesome defensively.
Oh, they run, man.
They've been running. And the only thing I'd say about Indy though is that, I mean, yeah, they're like, what are they, 10th fastest in pace, I believe, in the NBA. And the Brogdon thing. So I'm just going to point out something about Brogdon. Now we all love him, and He's shooting the ball, which makes us feel good. He's not shooting it well, which makes you feel like you can get more out of him and all that stuff.
Yeah, but he's a bad shooter.
He hasn't put up 40 fantasy points. I mean, he's a good shooter. He's like the best free throw shooter, one of the best in the NBA.
A free throw shot. I'm just
He can make threes. He can make them. He's not been great this year. I'll give you that. All right. Anyway, but he hasn't put up a game that we would really love that at this price, like in like 3 weeks or 2.5 weeks. And I understand it's a great matchup. I understand he'll be chalk. I'm gonna have some exposure. I'll have much more exposure of Sabonis. I think it's interesting that, you know how many games this year Brogdon has with a double-double? Like games that he has had 11 assists, in other words.
No.
1.
Really?
Yeah, Sabonis has more than he does. Like,
well, Sabonis is an animal. I mean, like he does.
He's a monster until for some reason he didn't play the other night for me and just absolutely massacred in that.
What happened there? I forgot.
I don't know.
Oh no, I know what happened. The bench made a huge run. They left him in. He
was getting abused while he was in the game. Zion looked literally like he was just playing with him like a little toy. Okay. So Miles Turner though is the obvious play here. Brooklyn centers, I don't think we need to go there. They also turn the ball over. Brooklyn plays super sloppy. There's going to be guys attacking the rim. You're going to get shot blocking opportunities. Miles Turner's always a weird play at any ownership.
He is, isn't he though?
He's always a weird play at reasonable ownership because he's got a sort of a wide range of outcomes, or at least a seemingly wide range of outcomes. But the truth is, like, he should get 40 here most of the time, or at least a good enough percent of the time, and he certainly should get 35. I like him a ton. I am going to have interest in all these guys. Sabonis is my number 1, Turner my number 2, Brogdon my number 3, and then I hate that I'm going to still play some Kyrie even after watching him not be able to release with his finger. I mean, Kyrie's one of the best shooters in the NBA, and it looks a little off to me. If Kyrie's out, you play Harden. If Kyrie's in, I will have some exposure to both, but I don't think it's going to be. I don't know, man. I'm still interested in Harden, but I think that on the back-to-back, there's other plays, there's other guys who are cheaper who can get us there. Maybe I have to just sort of ignore it a little bit more than I initially intended to.
I think
DeAndre Jordan should play minutes. Like, this is the game where I would usually be tagging, like, oh, they lit him up yesterday. They were yelling at him, the coaches. His defensive rotations are so bad, and I don't get it because he used to be able to, like, this was what he was good at, was help side defense. He's been awful. So I mean, yesterday was like a game I thought he was going to play more minutes even, but maybe it's because he's the front of the back-to-back, but mostly it just seemed like the coaches were unhappy with him. I think I'm gonna skip DeAndre Jordan personally. I think he will get some ownership, and I think that there is some merit because the matchup might force him to be on the court because there's the 2 bigs. But can't Jeff Green? I mean, DeAndre Jordan's not going to guard Sabonis anyway. It's going to mostly be Jeff Green, and then you could play. I think what you'll see is Norvel Pele or whatever come off and guard the rest of the time.
You know what's weird about Miles Turner? I think that's what it is. Like the reason why I guess people and like me find it hard sometimes to play Miles Turner and guys like, I don't know, like Brooke Lopez, a little bit different.
Similar.
But just you don't have that same center, type of distribution, right, that we talk about,
Sure.
where we talk about the center algorithm and stuff. They don't get those they don't get like all the rebounds underneath. They don't have all the putbacks. They shoot too many threes. I don't want to say too many threes.
No,
right?
I hear you.
But they shoot a lot of threes, and you feel as though that they're more shooting dependent than your center is kind of supposed to be. And I guess that's why, number 1, why they have a decent range of outcomes, a wide range of outcomes, and also why they're low owned too. But the thing about Turner is that he always has that capability for 6 or 7 blocks that can make up for that other kind of stuff.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, he's the best shot blocker in the NBA. And by the way, he's not just a guy who you go, oh, I hope I get some blocks from him, because first of all, this is a great shot blocking matchup because you have a bunch of guys who attack and who are sloppy. He also gets steals, by the way. He's also I believe he's in the top 10 in steals. I'm not sure if he still is, but I know he's up there. But you should expect when you play Miles Turner in this kind of the matchup, 2 would be the absolute minimum number of blocks you should expect. I would expect 3. And that immediately, like on FanDuel, that gives you 9 fantasy points. On DraftKings, that's 6 fantasy points. And then you expect 1 to 2 steals. So if you can get 10 points just from that alone, him having to get 25 between points, rebounds, and assists shouldn't be that difficult. Now he doesn't score that much, but he's going to score, 15 points more likely than not. And by the way, in a fast-paced matchup, he could get hot. And I wish he would shoot more threes, to be honest with you. I'm a little bit annoyed that he's not shooting as much this year. I want to see him shooting 10 threes a game. He's a good shooter. But I totally agree with your point. I still think that he thrives in this kind of environment.
Any Brooklyn nonsense or no?
Just the main guy. I mean, should we talk about Bruce Brown? I me's too expensive, right? But like, I don't want to play him tonight, but like maybe we should just keep more of an eye out, because I do feel like every time he's been in these spots without Durant and stuff, he just rebounds like a madman, giving him like a massive floor, and no one ever plays him. So just throwing it out there. Not going to do it tonight, but I do think in the future we can look to some Bruce Brown. What the hell was that?
What was the result of the? I hate to put it this way. What was the result of the kidnapping yesterday?
They still haven't found out exactly what happened. I was gonna check in with the people. I'm in a different place now. Obviously, I'm in my quarantine house. But
oh, right.
But yeah, I was gonna check in with that later.
Okay, so let's move on, because this next game could be sneaky. First of all, I was totally unaware that Valanciunas was even back, much less the possibility that he was going to play freaking 30+ minutes in the second game. I didn't even know he was back the first time.
Former team. Keep that in mind. Sorry.
Yeah, but he came back his first game at 24 minutes. I didn't even know that existed. I'm so stupid. I mean, like, I wouldn't have played him in that first one, but I certainly kind of like screwed up. What was that, Sunday? Is that the best? No, it was Monday. Why did I forget him? I don't.
Because he was 7,200 and there was tons of value. I understand.
I guess so.
Yeah, but I it would have been nice to play him.
Holy crap! 20 rebounds.
That's what he does, though. Like what's supposed to happen in that game against everybody else is he skips his fourth quarter rotation. He ends up with his 28 minutes, but they don't have. Obviously they don't have Jaren Jackson all season, but now they don't have Brandon Clark, so there is more room up front.
So I like these. I like a couple of guys. I mean, from both sides. So I would, and they're too good. So my top rated point per dollar play is also, I guess, going to be the highest owned, and that's going to be PJ Washington.
I don't think he's going to be the highest owned player
on the team.
Oh yeah, my bad.
And I don't know. Is that good chalk? I don't know. We'll see. But he certainly looks fine. Rozier down to 6,200 looks pretty good. LaMelo, man, he's 8,500 and it's scary, but he's playing like an 11K guy. You know, it's a little it's pretty freaking interesting.
Tell you what I find interesting, that everyone will play LaMelo and make sense of it at 80 whatever 100, and meanwhile Fred VanVleet, who is just it leaps and bounds ahead of where LaMelo is in terms of fantasy production, nobody will play him.
That's true.
It's strictly.
I don't know how anybody's gonna play LaMelo today though.
Yeah, he's probably not going to get a ton of ownership, but I mean, I've got Fred VanVleet predicted to be 0.5% owned and LaMelo to be 10%.
Right. And then I like him. I guess you could always play Hayward, but and then on the other side, you could play freaking Valanciunas again. No, I mean, I don't know. Looks good to me.
Yeah, these teams all have good totals. Sorry, go ahead, Chiefs.
Right, and you could play. I mean, you could have. It's like a preview of the what was the NBA rookie versus second team All-Star game. You could have freaking Morant, Morant, LaMelo having fun. I don't know, and if you want to play a guy who doesn't have as much fun, who's just a good point per dollar to play to put there, you could put Kyle Anderson in, or Dylan Brooks. I mean, I don't know. Maybe this game could be fun. No.
Yeah, I don't have a giant issue with this game or anything like. I do like.
It doesn't really stand out to you. Okay.
No, I mean there's parts that do. I mean, first of all, so PJ Washington is too cheap. I just want to point out though that keep in mind what's been happening lately. Like his minutes have been cut, his rebounds are going down. Since Zeller's been back, it has hurt him. Now initially he started playing better when they said, okay, well we're going to give him more minutes. Then he got hurt, so we don't really know what's going on with that. And then there was a blowout in there, so it's kind of actually two blowouts in there. So it's kind of hard to figure out exactly what's happening with PJ Washington. And maybe the recent game log will keep enough people off of him. I don't think so. but I do like him at this price in this matchup. And my favorite other play in this matchup is not even close, is John Morant. I think if you're going to play Valanciunas, we're going to have that conversation. We should have the John Morant conversation. Look, they're the same price. I understand Valanciunas went nuts the other night, but John Morant's got 60 coming, and it's going to happen soon. These 31 minutes, I have him bumped up to 34 because he played 37 in the last game, and I'm assuming if this game stays close. So I have John Morant as a much better play than probably most people do. But I sort of like these builds. Like you have to use all your guards, but if you play John Morant, Kyle Lowry, Bradley Beal, and Russell Westbrook, value it up. I think you're in business if you can get those. I mean, you can literally get an average of 55 out of those guys. And if you can put up 220 with 4 players and you get the right value, you're going to crush. I don't know. I like Morant a lot in this matchup. I also don't see, like as much as Lonzo Ball, I like LaMelo. I really like LaMelo's future. I like what he does. I think that there's some fool's gold at sometimes in terms of how good he really is, but he's really talented and he's amazing all over the court. Great fantasy guy. But I think realistically, John Morant is the play here. That's just my personal take.
He's better than Lonzo, isn't he?
Tonight?
No, in general.
Oh, LaMelo?
Yeah.
I've been saying LaMelo was better than Lonzo since LaMelo was 14 years old. These guys were, look, Lonzo went to UCLA, so I was a huge Lonzo guy. And by the way, Lonzo's been playing great, by the way. Not good, great. You know what he's shooting? He's shooting 49% from 3 right now.
It's great for him, especially,
Yeah, I mean,
he worked on it. He worked on it.
Jeez, all these narratives happen, and there's all these radio shows, and these guys talk, and they go, "Oh, look, he's only shooting 27%." I'm like, they've played 6 games. You know what I mean? These things take a long time to average out. You know what I mean? Anyway, so I think in terms of interest in this overall game, PJ Washington will be my highest owned player in the game, followed by Ja with a little bit of Valanciunas. I just personally would rather go over to the other game and play a little bit cheaper at center. And then if you're going to get into some action in this game, I suggest you maybe get Gordon Hayward in. I prefer Gordon Hayward over LaMelo.
Your man has been playing really, really nicely, by the way, Miles Bridges.
Yeah, I believe in the player. The problem with this Memphis team is, and I like how they play and I like how they're coached. They give everybody a fair chance. There's nobody who has to take shots. It does kind of kill a little bit of Ja's action sometimes.
No. You mean Miles Bridges for Charlotte?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I mean, I could say the same thing about Charlotte. There's just a lot of bodies. You know what I mean? There's a lot of guys playing in that 28 to 32 minute range. And I don't think I can play Bridges at this price. It feels weird that we would consider playing Bridges at more expensive than PJ Washington.
Well, talk again. I mean, what's so, I mean, I don't want to say it the wrong way. When I say what's so great about PJ Washington, right?
When PJ Washington was playing regularly before, he was averaging 32, and he's 5,300. Miles Bridges averaging.
Why is he going to get 30 minutes now again?
Why wouldn't he?
Oh, because he hasn't in a while.
He's coming off an injury, and they blow out. Injury and two 25-point blowouts.
Okay.
So his minutes should be pretty secure. And look, the game could blow out too. He could easily play 36 minutes in this game.
I mean, and also 1 for 4 from the field, 1 for 7 from the field, 3 for 12 from the field. I just hope they give him those minutes.
That Miami game, all those blowouts. One was an injury. One he got injured in the Miami game, and the other one, the Washington game, was coming off of an injury. So I'm willing to forgive and just completely cut those out of my entire memory bank.
Okay, fair enough.
But I guess I'm not really willing to, because I'm otherwise I'd be playing him 60% like I did earlier in the year when he was this price. And I'm not quite there. I'm 30% right now. Maybe I'll go a little higher soon.
Okay, so Paul George is out, right?
Yeah, shit.
Okay, so Kawhi is a good play, right? I mean, so I have him below. I have him and Jokic below Doncic and Harden, but not by a lot. With George out, though, I mean, at that price, he's got to get owned more than this, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
I don't know. I mean, think about this. So let's just say that nothing else. Let's say Harden plays with and Kyrie too, right? And you have Doncic and you have Leonard, because Westbrook will get owned too. Maybe no one's really that chalky of all these. Maybe you get one of those days where they're all between 15 and 20. No?
I think it'll start focusing. I think people will play Kawhi. Yeah, I'll probably right now I have Kawhi in at 25% on my lineups, and I mean I don't know how I'll end up with him there, but I think that I actually think that he's going to be owned more than that. Like,
Well, now, I figured I would ask this only because I'm going to ask this because I sort of know the answer, but for people might be joining for the first time, this is something that I asked, like maybe you and a couple of people when I first got in there. Like when you say that that your initial ownership is 25%, or let's say that towards the end of the day, say I want to get 25%. Is there a reason why? I mean, like what makes somebody 25% as opposed to say 50? Like, do you have like you have something you use? I mean, like why 25 and not 50, or why 25 and not 10?
Well, part of the reason 25 is, I mean, just the very basic part of it is there's a lot of good plays in a sort of a similar price tier, the second level high end price tier. The Westbrook, Beal, Van Vliet we talked about, Melo you mentioned. There's a lot of good plays in that range, so that's part of it. The other thing I'm factoring in is that the early projection ownership is not very high on him, and I've looked at a couple different sites.
Okay.
But I think that's going to change. So I wanted to be ahead of the field on what I thought was a pretty obvious spot. The thing about it is that he doesn't get 60 very often unless he goes nuts. There is a huge blowout risk every time Minnesota plays, especially against a competent team like this. They have other guys who can score. I actually sort of thought the matchup lends itself a little bit to Reggie Jackson. I know he's expensive, but he's playing minutes, and I mean, what are you going to say? He plays 30 minutes against Minnesota. Why shouldn't he put up 30 fantasy points? I think he should, actually. So I have interest in both those guys. But again, Kawhi, if he does get really chalky, I don't mind jumping off just in hope for the blowout angle. Even like Serge is too cheap. All of these guys are in play. I do think it's smart that they priced up Lou Williams right as he got hot, because I would have been all over Lou Williams here if he was still 4,000. But I don't think I can do it at 5,500, although he certainly has paid it off the last couple games. I think it's Jackson and Kawhi for me, mostly on the Clippers side.
Yeah, this is, we talk about this a lot, but I mean, Minnesota's just the worst, man. I mean, they're just the worst. I mean, how is, I keep saying this, and then the team I say this about ends up winning. I was going to say, how's Minnesota in this game? I keep saying this, like I really think the only way they could be in this game is if D'Angelo Russell has a good game, and he's had no good games, which is why they've been in no games, right? So I find playing these Clippers hard. And yeah, Kawhi can get there anyway, but when you have like Luka and
I do want to correct one thing. Minnesota has been incredibly competitive over the last Yeah, every game has been. I think the biggest spread they've lost by is 5 points over the last 7 games.
Yeah,
they beat Cleveland. They lost to Cleveland by 2. They lost to San Antonio by 3. They beat OKC by 3. They lost to OKC by 2, and then they lost to Dallas by 5. So
with the exception of the cheapies like Vanderbilt or like McDaniels or whatever. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to get of this. I really don't.
I do think that you can play some Vanderbilt, and I don't think you're right. I don't think I'm going to end up doing it either. But I just want to point out that Malik Beasley is no joke. Like when he can get going too. We maybe should start treating him a little bit more. He can't get the assist Russell does really, although Russell doesn't really get that many assists either. I think he's got 10 assist games in his career. But yeah, I'm sure. Look, if Russell plays, I have a little bit of interest. If not, I do have some interest in Beasley. Like I just think he's better than people think. He takes a lot of shots, which I love. He put up 57 in the last game. That's pretty crazy. He's got monster upside in him. So, but again, you're mostly, I guess you're right, Sheets. Look, when you look at all the other plays on the slate, maybe you're just looking at Vanderbilt, Jaden McDaniels, maybe for some value if you need it. If anything weird happens with the rest of this lineup, but even that, like, it's just a lot of guys going to play a little bit of minutes as of right now.
Okay. Do you want to move on?
Yeah. By the way, all these totals are pretty good tonight.
Yeah.
Maybe it is going to be more spread out than I thought initially. All right, Sheets, go ahead. It's on you.
I like, Levine against New Orleans. New Orleans again is playing sneaky fast, and probably is competitive spread here. So I like Levine. I don't think I'm going to play what's his name off of the price increase, the Valentine. He's not looking to be quite as good of a play. So I'm going to probably be interested in Levine, and then you can play Kobe White too, I suppose. I don't know if I'm going to get to all that what used to be value. I think Patrick Williams is priced up. I think that Denzel Valentine's priced up. And then on New Orleans, I mean, they're okay. I mean, Zion's fine, Ingram's fine. Just on principle, I'm not playing hard. Coming off of this last game, sure he's going to go up 5% again and smash again, but maybe that's what you're supposed to do. just play him again. That actually is something I'm going to consider. But
consider it.
Yeah. So for me, Zion, Ingram, Levine, nothing fancy really.
Okay, I'm gonna get a little fancy. Well, I don't know how fancy it's gonna be. Why aren't we just going back to Hernan Gomez? I understand the game was a blowout, but
okay. All right.
If he keeps playing well, like why wouldn't we give him a shot at 3,400?
Okay.
And then in the same token, now I don't know if you want to play these two guys together because then you're kind of counting on a blowout. But on the other side of the game, you've got Daniel Gafford. Okay, now just hear me out on this. If they might still give Felicio some of those minutes. I think they will probably, but they're going to need to play bigger than they're used to with Zion. I mean, even Ingram's a big guy, but Zion, Ingram, and Adams as a front court. You figure Patrick Williams matches up with the Ingram type or something like that. I don't really know. Like you're going to put Thaddeus Young. You're not going to put Thaddeus Young on Zion. I guess you can try to put him on Steven Adams, but that sounds like a offensive rebounding nightmare. So don't you think that this is a shot for Daniel Gafford to maybe play some more minutes? Now, he's actually been pretty productive in the minutes he's gotten. He didn't play more minutes. Those more minutes didn't work out against Orlando. He's been starting. He put up 24 in the last game, only 14 minutes. I think that was Washington. But I'm just sort of speculating here. I mean, look, if we don't have value open up, and even if we do, I just want to have like a little bit of a shot of a chance with both Gafford and Hernan Gomez. And honestly, I think those might be my favorite plays in this game. I will go back to Josh Hart too and try that out again. Josh Hart is going to play minutes. Anytime he's 4.3, you can always use him as a tournament. So maybe it feels a little chasey, but he does this anyway. He goes, I mean, it's not like we need him to get 53 again, but it is probably worth noting that he put up 43, just what was it, 9 days ago. He put up 32 a couple days before that. He put up 25 3 days ago. I mean, if you get 25 to 28 out of him, you're pretty happy, and he plays enough minutes. And honestly, with that rebounding upside, all he needs to do is get that double-double, and you're at 30 fantasy points, basically. So back-to-back doesn't really worry me that much with him. Chicago's a team you can also get out there on. I think he could play more than 26 minutes potentially. So I think those are my most interesting guys. Look, Zion is fine. Probably will have put up 40 fantasy points, and I'm sure actually will smash one of these times in this spot. And as will Ingram. I just don't think I can get to them with the other guys in their price range. I can't play them over Westbrook. And Zach LaVine, I feel similarly fine. But I don't really love it. I don't feel as in love with this game. I'm looking more for value. I do think you can play the unowned Patrick Williams because they really don't have that many bodies, and he's going to play a ton of minutes. And it's not like he needs to get you much. Like he's put up, in this situation in 2 out of the 3 games, he's put up 33 or more. 33 would be fine with me at 5,500 tonight.
You want to move ahead?
Yes, sir.
Let the record reflect that Andre Drummond played 36 minutes.
He did. He finally did it. Only took 11 shots to do that, but he finally got there.
However, if you give me 34 plus with Andre Drummond in any game against anybody, with 82 or 8,200 or whatever the hell he is, 8,300, he's just going to be a big part of what I want to do. And it's a tough matchup. I mean, and Jokic can be frustrating for people to play, and to play against on defense, because he does all this crap. But I'm going to play him. I'm going to play Drummond. On Denver, likewise, Jokic is, again, he's one of those 4 high-priced guys. I think they're all good. Doncic, Luka, Kawhi, and Jokic. 11K is, it's tough, but it's, when you have basically a triple-double floor every game, I mean, it's like kind of hard.
Mm-hmm.
But the guy I'm going to keep playing on Denver, is I like playing Michael Porter Jr. I always think he's got upside. I always think that he's got ceiling, and that's where I'm going. So I'm going to play. If I play at all, you know what I mean? I'll play Jokic if I get to him. I'll probably make sure to get some Porter Jr. and I'm going to get some Drummond.
Yeah. Boy, Drummond's an interesting conversation today because people are going to see the minutes tick up. I think I'm more inclined just to play Jared Allen. Hope things go.
Ooh, there you go. That's something.
I don't think it's that creative. The issue I have is like, why not let Jared Allen go? If you're gonna, I mean, they kind of did. They let him play 34 minutes the other night, I guess.
So I guess they played him together for many minutes.
Yeah, they both started. Yeah, because what's his name's gone. Larry Nance is out.
Yeah,
that's the reason why all this changed. It's not like, by the way, Drummond was, he was not getting 36 minutes when Larry Nance was in the lineup. By the way, that was strictly because Larry Nance was out. But it still happened tonight. So terrible matchup, good price. Yeah, I'm okay with it. It's not the way I want to build personally. Like I've tried this against Jokic a bunch of times this year, and it has not worked one time, not once.
Okay.
Everybody underpriced. But look, it's still it's Andre Drummond. What's he really going to do, Sheets? Like, is he really going to be out there? If he's out there for 30 plus minutes, isn't he going to just get 15 rebounds? And like, he's going to, what's his floor? It's gotta be high enough.
I think so.
Yeah. Maybe I'll get a little more Drummond. I don't know. I'm sort of stuck on that one. Just because I like, again, I'm looking at it like versus Westbrook and other players in that price range because center and point guard are my favorite spots.
Well, who do you like better at center?
Than him? I'll go to my sheet. I think I mostly like spending down. Well, Roby is a power forward center, I guess, so that doesn't really count. Horford, maybe. Well, PJ Washington. I guess I do like power forwards today. Miles Turner.
There's a lot of these multi-position guys that
Miles Turner, I definitely do.
Okay.
But I mean, again, it's mostly because I'm looking to spend down from the way the rest of my lineups are constructed. But
okay.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I know. I like DeAndre Ayton a lot better.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. But by the way, that's DeAndre Ayton. That could go one way. It's just like we always talk about with Milwaukee. That's going to go one way or the other. And then I'm okay with Jokic. I actually liked attacking Drummond usually. I just don't see myself realistically playing him over Luka. That's pretty much it. and Harden. That's hard. The only reason why I don't want to play him. I still love him. I just don't think I'm going to get there tonight in a slow matchup.
Well, OKC season again.
What if this game does actually get postponed?
Oh, we're still talking about that possibility?
I mean, if they keep running out 8 bodies, or what if we hear, later on that a couple more bodies are available or something? I don't know. Just keep an eye out for this one. There could be some weird late night shenanigans going on.
Why are all these other guys in the DraftKings pool here?
Which ones?
I see like 10, 11 guys here.
All the
They
guys.
just keep the guys in case they get activated. The Josh Hall and
I don't. To my knowledge, none of those guys are actually on the team.
Jerome. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, they're probably 2-way contracts, is my guess. I honestly don't know. I haven't seen a team though play 4 games in a row where they just didn't try and call somebody up or something. Isn't that weird? So it does make me almost think that maybe they're going to activate someone or maybe you get a late Shea's back or something. I don't know what they're going to do actually.
So Roby, Horford, Diallo, Dort. Those are my,
In that order for you?
Yeah, and Roby by a lot, I think.
Yeah, I think it's Roby pretty much as the standout. My phone keeps going crazy today. I don't, it's looking at Roby. It's actually hard to try and find like a lot of. I guess here's the argument for fading is that they don't necessarily need to. He's going to play minutes. Yeah, I mean, there's an argument though. I mean, so I like Lou Dort also. I know he's struggled lately. I don't care. I'll take the minutes, and I know what he can do if he gets going. I mean, it's not like you need that much of him. I mean, he struggled. He still put up 25 the game before last, but got injured before that. But and had really been struggling for a while. But I'm okay with just playing him just as a price point play, hoping some other stuff opens up. Again, if you play these late games, you saw it last night. Now, it didn't quite work out, Sheets, but I did. Unfortunately, I fell for the Vassal trick when he was in the starting lineup. And I knew it would take away his usage, but I thought maybe it locked him into like playing 28 plus minutes, and it didn't quite get there.
Okay.
But that's the kind of thing you do when you can play these late games. You can sort of do some funny things. Like, what if you hear Justin Jackson is starting tonight? You know, they only have 8 bodies, so anybody who's starting is going to be awesome, like incredibly in play. My rankings, though, currently are Roby, followed by Dort, Kenrich, Diallo, Jackson, and Horford all the same. And then I do have interest in Darius Bazley. Darius Bazley was pretty great the other night in that matchup, and I know it's not going to be the same without AD. And the weird part is he missed like 1 million shots. He just got 1 million rebounds. It's a little different tonight, but I just want to throw him out there as a play that's going to be low owned.
What's the spread in this game? Like 14 or something?
11.5. Feels like it should be more.
So they just played this game.
Yeah, I know, it was close.
It's overtime?
But Shea played.
Right. You know, what was interesting is that my kind of wild card play got 27 minutes, even in the close game, the THT. Which is
well, that's not surprising because after we knew AD was out, I don't think that was that surprising.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Maybe he's my favorite play again.
If AD plays?
What?
But if AD plays, how's he going to play?
He's going to get all the blowout run, no?
Yeah, I mean, okay.
That's stupid. Okay, I don't know.
No, I'm just thinking it through. I mean, Caruso was also out the other night.
What are you going to do? Are you going to play the? Oh, that's true.
I'd just rather play
the Laker. Are you going to play the Laker guys?
No.
Okay.
I mean, AD is really cheap. Like, you know, maybe you could fit him into that role. So let's say who was our other 9K guy that we were discussing? I mean,
it's bad. You can't play that. You play LeBron.
I mean, AD. There's no reason AD wouldn't be able to outscore Bradley Beal. Or
yeah.
No, I mean, really, like Bradley Beal's not. AD hasn't been doing anything, and he's still not. Bradley Beal's still not outscoring him by much. Like
that's true.
You know, and AD's not been rebounding like this year consistently. Anyway, I'm assuming that these guys are going to play and be okay tonight. Caruso and AD, maybe one of them, maybe Caruso doesn't. But I actually think Caruso as a value play is not the worst idea in the world. I don't love any of it though, to be honest with you. I'm not falling in love with this game personally. It would be AD and Caruso on this side. I wish I could run it back, but I don't really have a way to stack and run it back. And honestly, like, do I really want to stack against the Lakers? Like, I'm gonna have exposure to all these OKC guys, but I don't know, man. I don't want to have like 4 of them in a lineup. I don't think. Maybe I do. I don't. They're not so cheap anymore. You know, it's not like they're all minimum.
Yeah, but again, it's like it's
usage thing. I know. How does it work?
I mean, how do you not play Dort, for example? I mean, he's gonna, even if he sucks, he's gonna score 25 fantasy points, right?
He played 38 minutes the other night and put up 12 in the same matchup.
That is true.
Like, and I know, but Shea was there. That's the one difference. Shea was there, but what's his name wasn't, right? Horford wasn't there.
Yeah.
Oh no, Horford was there. Shea and Horford were there. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, so I think we, look, Roby, Dort, then Kenrich, then Diallo, Jackson. I actually wouldn't mind moving Jackson up a little bit, just because I think if he plays the minutes, why don't we treat him just like these other guys who can't produce when they play minutes anyway? And if we're going to play them at higher price, why don't we play a little bit more Jackson? So Jackson and Roby would be my value saving guys that I probably look to first.
So, and Roby's going to be probably, I would say he's going to be the most popular player on this side.
Yeah, it's hard to know what happens with late game information, but yeah, I agree. Like, what if he's not, like, there's a chance he doesn't start,
Right. Okay, so last game of the day, you have Milwaukee with no Drew Holiday, right? So you have the guys that people are going to probably talk about as the direct beneficiaries, right, are going to be, I guess, DJ Augustine and maybe Pat Connaughton, I suppose. Mm-hmm. And they both look pretty good. The kind of another obvious one is going to be Chris Middleton. Just more shots to him. Giannis is going to be a good play regardless of whether Drew Holiday was in or not, but it certainly doesn't hurt that he's out. So there's the other thing I wanted to mention to you is there's happy birthday in this game also for Mr. Narrative himself, Bobby Portis.
Oh my goodness.
So
okay.
I'll just submit that for your
there's definitely going to be a Bobby Portis lineup in my near future.
submitted for your approval. So there's that, and then on the Phoenix side, let's make sure that we know what's going on with Mr. Chris Paul. You already mentioned that you liked
Bryn Forbes. You didn't mention Bryn Forbes.
Oh, that was the other one, right? Sorry about that. Yeah, so I'll let you kind of make heads or tails of that. I'll probably end up getting forced into a couple of them just from crunching. I probably won't play any of them on purpose, but I'll probably end up with some of them, if that makes any sense. Yeah. And then on Phoenix, like you said, Ayton 7,100, man. That's rather insulting. I don't know, man. It's kind of tough. Kind of have to play that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that, and then obviously if what's his name is out, Paul, then you don't have to, but Booker becomes a great play. Chris Paul is in. I think he's fringy. I would much rather. I mean, just the difference between him and like Kyle Lowry is quite a bit for me.
John Morant too, or for me anyway. John Morant.
Morant or even Brogdon.
Yeah, fair enough.
So yeah, he's a tough sell for me, Chris Paul. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So I like Giannis. Again, it's going to be hard to get all these guys in, but that's my argument for playing like Jokic. Like, how do you play Jokic when all these other guys have like a guy out, like in Harden's case or in Giannis's case, or you've got Luka who's just chronically too cheap, and so is Giannis. And it's not like they have anybody who can match up with Giannis, even though they've been decent defensively. I also like Middleton. So I would rank it Giannis, but again, I don't know if I'll really get to him because there's a lot of good plays in that range. Augustine, Giannis, Middleton. I like Augustine and Bryn Forbes the best. I actually think Bryn Forbes might be the answer because he does seem to be playing like they seem to like him a little bit better. He's played down the stretch of a lot of games. And he did play 26 minutes the other night when Holiday got hurt. So he's also put up 24, 23 or more in 3 out of the last 4, 19 or more in 4 out of the last 5. He's 3,800. I think that his minutes could go up to 28 or 30 potentially, whereas I see Augustine sort of being in the more 24-minute range. So I actually think I prefer him over Augustine. The problem is Augustine is a better, like he can get hot and make some shots, and Bryn Forbes is sort of like out there to, he can knock down open threes, a couple of them, but he's not going to take a ton of shots. He's going to, he's also been like red hot from 3-point range. I mean, he's shooting like 70% this month, but he's not shooting much. So so I guess I'm ranking it Giannis, Middleton, Forbes, Augustine, but I don't think you need to play this value. I just think you should keep it in mind. And you also, by playing it, you can always potentially pivot to the inevitable late news that ends up happening, like a weird starter or somebody scratched or something. And then I like Ayton a lot on the other side.
So let's do a quick, I guess, run through of FanDuel positions, and then we'll get out of here and come back with some quick golf.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess I'll start over at. I'm not going to build the lineup this time. I'm just going to go through the positions. I guess Luka's my good pay up option over there. As far as ownership goes, I mean, Kyrie is going to be might not be too highly owned over there. I don't mind him. I mean, I think the Brogdon is going to be chalkier than Kyrie. And boy, oh boy, I mean, if I get Kyrie at really low ownership, maybe I'll try that. So I guess that would be my ownership adjusted play. I don't know if I could do 9,700 for Westbrook. I mean, I can't tell you it's a bad play, but I guess that's like kind of a stupid way to look at it. I was going to say, why should I play him at 9,700 but I could play him at 84 in DraftKings. But again, it's two totally separate things. I guess that after Kyrie, for kind of like my ownership fade play, maybe Kyle Lowry would be another one, or Ja. I don't know if I want to pay. I don't know if I want to be chalky Brogdon.
I like Brogdon fine. I like Jaws we already talked about. I do think that maybe Brogdon has a little more upside over here because there is some steal, like with that sloppiness of Brooklyn's team, like I mentioned. Maybe he's got a little more upside over here versus on DraftKings, and he's cheap. And Reggie Jackson makes some sense at 51, but it's not like exciting. I think that it's just like Luka and Westbrook are my favorites. And
you like Westbrook even here, huh?
yeah, I don't understand why this seemed like a high price for him. He's still averaging more points than the guys who are in front of him. And that's coming off of a blowout where he scored 15 fantasy points and another blowout where he scored only 39. Pretty much when they're close in games, he's going to be over 50 almost every time. I don't really know like why. I think it's a horrible mistake that people make is getting too obsessed with these price differences versus the situation. And I like Westbrook here. I don't care. And it's not obviously not nearly as good a play, but because of the ownership, maybe it's an even better play. But those are my guys: Brogdon, Ja, Jackson, Westbrook, and Luka.
You know what you could do? I mean, if you really wanted to. I mean,
Lowry.
This is really nasty. But if you wanted to try to play, and I'm going to get the short shooting guard in a second. But if you had it in you to fade Luka, for example, and you wanted to play, say, Kyrie and Harden together, and then you eat a little bit of the chocolate Brogdon over there. I don't know. So shooting guard, I think Harden is a good play. And then an ownership play, man, you play Zach LaVine at 10%. I don't know. I'm always down to play a little Zach LaVine at 10%. And then then these other guys who are always cheap on FanDuel, like Herter and Dylan Brooks, for example, they're always really cheap over there. So,
yeah, I think DiVincenzo is the better player than those guys.
You like Vincenzo better than them?
Yeah, without Drew, he should be.
Okay, right.
I mean, we talked about the other beneficiaries. He should be the actual beneficiary, but he was just a little bit higher priced. I think I like Harden, Herter, DiVincenzo. I know it's pretty chalky, but those are the guys who I have the most of. I actually think Sexton's price is reasonable. Brooks is reasonable. I just don't love any of these other guys. I think Reddish would probably be the next one I would want to go down to at 4,400. It just seems a little too cheap. And then I don't mind the idea of the unowned LaVine. Yeah, that makes sense to me. And
by the way, you could play. Okay, keep
Devin
going.
Booker, by the way, at 7,700. You know, we did talk about how Milwaukee, that's the one way to beat him is from the best way to beat him is from the outside. Now, I wish Booker shot more threes. He's been doing a little bit more of it lately. But you know, I know that Chris Paul was out, but maybe he's found his stroke and maybe he has a big game tonight. So he's another one I'm considering.
If you want, I mean, you don't have to do this, but if you want to play an unowned or a very moderately owned LaVine with a no-owned Brandon Ingram from that game, you could. Then you could play chalk all day long. If you knew which chalk to play.
What do you mean Ingram? He's not a shooting guard, is he? Over here?
No. I'm just going to small forward.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, I guess you could do that.
But I mean, the best play is I think Kawhi with Paul George out. He's tough. LeBron, I guess, is fine, but you know, just the minutes are always just kind of concerned with me in a game like this. Middleton is going to probably be pretty chalky. I don't like playing chalky Middletons. I just don't. Michael Porter Jr. he's always cheap over there, so I might consider him. And the other guy is still cheap. The value guys like Denzel Valentine on FanDuel is fine, 4,400. And the OKC guy, who's the OKC guy? Kendrick Williams. He's fine over there too. So, yeah. And Dort. So all the value guys at small forward are good. And oh my God, my man Danilo is 3,800 over here. Oh my God.
Yeah. So it's oh wow, this is crazy. I don't know if that's even good though.
Maybe it sucks. Maybe it's just bad.
No, but I don't know though. I'm trying to figure. That's one we'll have to revisit again later. Yeah, I do think that like paying. The weird part is I actually don't. I think because of all that value you mentioned, the Kawhi, even though he's going to be like he's like the cash game guy you should be playing. He may not actually have as much ownership as some of these other guys. I think people will more likely spend on like Middleton and one of the lower guys, or Hayward even in one of the lower guys, or Hayward and Middleton. I'm with you on the Michael Porter Jr. thing. I like Valentine, Kawhi, Kenrich, Porter. Wait, this is pretty much in order. Valentine, Kawhi. Wait, hold on one second about Porter. Yeah, Porter, Kenrich, Dort, Kenrich, Middleton, and Gallinari. That's what I've got on my list. And that's pretty much the order of the list.
Power forward Giannis is tough. And he's not that chalky. Then you could play Sabonis in the nut matchup, no? At 10%?
Yeah.
I might try to find a way to do that.
Absolutely.
And then if you want to do, again, you go Patrick Williams and boring stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Sabonis is the idea.
Or Davis. I mean,
right.
But yeah, I like sort of like that. John Collins is 7K. I think he's interesting. Not really in love with this position as much. I think maybe PJ Washington gets lower ownership over here. So I like him. But honestly, it's Giannis, PJ Washington, Sabonis, and then for value, I'm sorry, Patrick Williams and Maxi Kleber are crazy priced. But Patrick Williams especially. But Kleber, by the way, I didn't mention him on DraftKings. He's a little bit more expensive, but I actually think he's even in play over there. They seem to really like him lately, and my pen ran out of ink right as I'm trying to write. Maybe it's a sign I shouldn't play Patrick Williams. Williams and Kleber, yeah, and Vanderbilt. I mean, those guys are they're all sort of, Kleber and Vanderbilt feel a little, wild cardy, but Kleber's going to play the minutes, and Vanderbilt's always got upside. So that's how I'd spend down up there. And then again, I prefer Bertans in general on DraftKings as a 3-point bonus, but Bertans playing a bunch of minutes at 4,200 has some interest to me.
Okay. What about center?
Center.
You got Horford. I mean,
you got Drummond at 70. Yeah, I do like Drummond a little bit better over here. I've got Drummond, Turner, Horford. I feel weird about the Horford thing, just to be honest, because I don't like that matchup. And they didn't have AD the other night, the Lakers, when they played it. But
matchup though. I mean, isn't he going to play like 35 minutes? I mean, like
no, he doesn't. No matter what, even in the other games, he's been like he played that one game against the Lakers. He played 34 minutes. Other than that, he hasn't played 30 minutes this season.
Okay.
So, and that included games with men down. With eight players against Minnesota. He only played 29 minutes in that game. Yeah, man, it's center is not. Maybe the simple, I think Drummond's going to be popular. So I think but I think it's fine. And I don't really love anything else here. So even though I don't like Jokic as much on DraftKings, if you can save in other spots and play Jokic over here at center, you can just potentially win the position by like 20 points.
I'll tell you, FanDuel's a little tighter today than usual.
It is somewhat, but we just named a million plays at power forward and small forward that are 4,400 and lower.
Yep.
All right. Yeah. So I think that's pretty much it. I wish I had some better center takes for you guys. Maybe later today we'll have some.
All right. So we'll catch up on this later, and we'll come back with some golf in a minute or two.
Sounds good to me. Hey, good luck to everyone out there. We'll see hopefully somebody win a tournament tonight. Let's say that. Somebody win one. For Sheets, I'm Bobby. See you soon, guys.